Gray Zone Warfare is no Escape from Tarkov killer. Escape from Tarkov and Gray Zone Warfare fill different niches, as Escape from Tarkov encourages PvP and has a very deep loot-based pool that also has an out-of-game economy with a flea market. Gray Zone Warfare is more of a PvE mission-based game that focuses more to a casual player versus our hardcore one. This is obvious by the fact that when you fire up the game and you go create your character, you have the option at any point to choose a PvE only server or a PvE VP server. Tarkov only has this option if you have certain additions. If not, it's PvP all the time. So this is one of the many things that showcase where the audience is for both games. Also, when you fire up Gray Zone Warfare, you'll see that the game is a very good looking game. The graphics are definitely really good. The audio is pretty good. But the real win here is the immersion, because everything happens in real time. You pick up your quest from your base, you go to a site, conduct your business, go back to a landing zone, get back to your base, cash it in, restock, do it again. And you do this without ever seeing a load screen. So the immersion in Gray Zone Warfare is really good, and you could easily lose hours at a time just because you don't see any load screens. Tarkov is a little bit different because you actually have to go back to your hideout, see a load screen, your base, etc., then go back in, another load screen, etc. So there is a little bit of difference there, and that to me is a win for Gray Zone Warfare, is the immersion's on a different level. Guns in Gray Zone feel pretty good to shoot, but the issue is that movement can be clunky sometimes. It's not always, but it is sometimes, and it's hit or miss. Vaulting can be hit or miss. So you can wrestle with the controls of the game from time to time, but the game is definitely pretty to look at. Furthermore, we talked about maps and immersion and spawning in and out. The Gray Zone Warfare has a huge map, and the game does have 3 factions, and the only real difference is where you start and who you can play with. So you really want to make sure you know what faction your friends are playing on if you plan to play with friends. However, they did recently add the ability to wipe your character, so if you choose the wrong faction, you can easily wipe and choose the right one afterwards. Gray Zone Warfare does have 115 or so quests to complete, and the good thing is that quest items, particularly something that I was happy about, is that quest items can be put into your secure container. Now, I know Tarkov players will be like, well, that's stupid, yada. Yeah, again, this is the difference. Tarkov caters to a hardcore audience. Gray Zone Tarkov's to a more casual audience. You are able to put your quest items in your secure container, so if you die, you can still cash in and complete the quest. Also, sticking with the differences as well, is the basic character creator. Now, the character creator in Gray Zone Warfare, it's nothing special. It's there. You create your character. You're probably not going to do anything fancy. There's a couple of shirts and cosmetics that you can unlock by leveling up your character level, and I know there's a couple with a supporter package, but overall, in my opinion, it's there. It's nice. It's nothing special. When we talk about the big map, one of the issues that I really had with this game particularly is LZ spamming, is what I would call it. And what I mean by LZ spamming is there's only so many helicopters that can be placed in the map at one time. So if you're in your base and you're trying to go to an LZ, you may have to keep spamming your LZ to get the helicopter to come, because you have to wait until one of the helicopters leaves the game for yours to come in. And it's the same thing when you're out in the field. You're out in the field and you say, hey, I want to extract. Let me call my helicopter over. And it's like, well, you have to wait because the maximum number of helicopters in the air are already in the air. And now you have to wait for one to get out in order to call yours. It was just very annoying that you have to keep spamming the button. A bit of feedback I would have for the developers on this would be to have it be put into a queue. So if I have to wait 2 extra people, you hit the button and it says queue, 2 people. Okay, I have to wait for 2 helicopters before my comes in. At least this way I can conduct my business without having to constantly spam that button waiting for my helicopter to come. So I do think that's something that the devs need to work on. Another issue is the game does have a weak endgame. As stated before, this is not a loot-based game. Loot in Gray Zone is basically gear, meds, food, and quest items. That's it. There is no base building, there is no crafting or anything like that. So the loot table is very, very weak. And because the factions are spread out to each corner of the map, even if you wanted to engage in PvP, you have to go way out of your way and hope you find somebody, or camp an LZ and wait for someone to spawn in. Then, even then, when you have your encounter, it's not really worth it because the gear and loot's not there. There's no out-of-game loot. PvP is basically plays second fiddle to PvE in this game. So once you complete all your quests, you essentially have nothing to do. This will affect, again, the hardcore players. If you're one of those players who plays 10 hours a day, you'll probably finish your quest and be like, well, there's nothing to do. This is boring. Whereas someone who plays maybe, 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, it'll take them a while to complete the 115 or so quests. So they will get more enjoyment out of it versus someone who can binge the whole thing and then be bored really quickly. Lastly, that I want to talk about, that's the big elephant in the room, is bugs and performance. Now, there was a whole bunch of bugs and glitches and performance issues in this game, and it still is there. Certain ones, such as the head missing and container gone missing, they just released a patch for that to address that one. But there's still other ones. There's still server crashes. There's still server issues, still server lag, even when you're on the server that you're supposed to be on based on where you live. So servers are still an issue, and of course, performance. Now, to put things into context, I have a 3080 Ti, 32 gigs of RAM, and a 10700K CPU. I can run the game, epic settings, DLSS set to balance, and I'll get something like 60-70 FPS consistently. And that's good for my standards. But realistically speaking, for a lot of people, that's not good enough. If you're under a 20 series card or weaker, you're going to have significant issues with regards to performance. And it's just one of those things. Optimization is well behind. That being said, over time, optimization should improve and more people should have a better experience, especially with weaker hardware. That being said, the potential of Gray Zone Warefare is definitely really, really good. If they can sort out the bugs and glitches, they can sort out the performance, and continue to deliver content. Because keep in mind, the current state of the game only has no more than like 30% of the game done. So you're still missing 70% of the game. And we don't know what they've held back and what they have in store. But if they can shore up the end game, you can really have a really good PvE shooter here in the long run that could be very popular. But they got to get these issues worked out, and they can't take 8 years to work these issues out. It has to get done in a timely fashion. If you tell me they get the bugs and performance done in 2 years and flesh out the end game, hey, that's great. Now you can have a banger of a game. But it's got to be at a reasonable time frame. Right here, Gray Zone Warfare is a fun game if you're on the right side of the fence. If you're someone who likes PvE, who likes Tarkov, but you like to play it casually, then yes, there is something here for you. There's a lot of fun to be had. But if you're a hardcore Tarkov player, you want that hardcore PvP experience, this game is not for you. You're better off just playing Tarkov. That's probably more in your lane than Gray Zone Warfare. But overall, I'm enjoying my time with Gray Zone Warfare. I have fun with it, but it clearly has issues, and the potential for this game is definitely on the high side. There's definitely a lot of room for this game to be really good down the road if you're not enjoying it already now like I am. I'm giving Gray Zone Warfare as an early access product a 7 out of 10. This is Veteran Gamer, and I hope to see you guys next time.